Life isn't only black and white. Somewhere in the grey lies the truth, where perspectives collide and stories connect. Welcome to the Black, White and Grey podcast. Let's have a conversation. Today, guys, we've got a very special guest. I've been on Instagram. I've had a look. I've been on the YouTube. I've delved in. I've delved deep. Dug deep. It resonates with me. I've seen multiple characters on the internet trying the same thing. But something about your story, Mr. Andrew Shaw BSc.
Thank you. Thank you.
Resonates really well. And I think it speaks to a lot of men these days, especially young men in the society that we live in.
Yeah.
So what is your message, really, for those that don't know you?
What is my message? How would I condense that? How would I distill that down into
one line?
One line. Yes.
Elevator pitch.
Yeah, that is, isn't it? I think it, for me, is removing a lot of, let's say, frustrations, patterns, behaviours that are impacting people's lives, predominantly men, and helping them sort of carve a path forward, discover their purpose, whatever that may be. I think there's a lot of confusion. I suppose what I do is just share my experience of how I've tackled those things and put it out there and maybe, I suppose, offer a perspective that might be of help.
Sounds prominent. Sounds good.
How did you come up with the structure? Because I've watched lots of your reels on Instagram, and one, I think the music is fantastic. It goes really well with it.
Okay.
Two is the format that you are. It's just, I don't know. It's just I'm a woman, and I was completely, sold. I thought I want to spend some time with this man. I feel like he knows. So much more, not just about males, but I think as a female as well. There were life lessons there on how to deal with problems, on how and why those problems are there, what triggers us, and what are the issues and trauma and etc. So I think, how did you come up with the concept of I'm gonna just do it the way you do it because it's unique to what I've seen before? Your setup,
combination, iteration.
Okay.
So when people message me, they're like, "How have you got all these followers?" And what? I just say, how have you arrived? You're asking me that question. How have I got to that position? What's the format? What's the content? How did you get there?
Yeah.
What's the magic trick?
Yeah. What is the secret sauce?
Did you try different sort of formats to be able to get there?
If you look at the number of posts next to my name, I would say that's the secret. That
repetition.
1,270
trial and
posts.
error.
Is iteration. It's just going, learning. That didn't.
I love
and
that.
you just keep on going. And
I love that.
when people, I've had people make
negative comments.
Yeah, I get that all the time. But
that's social media.
That's you being authentic.
Yeah.
If you haven't got that 10% that are, not nice to you, and then you'll have the 10% that love it, and you'll have 80% that maybe fall in between, that grey area. I don't think you're being yourself. I think you're being vanilla. I think you're
exactly. Michael and I have that discussion.
You've got to be. If you're yourself, you are chocolate chip rocky. Ice cream. Like a unique thing.
Yeah,
and that's what will get you that 10% and 10%. If you haven't got that, if you're trying to not offend anyone. I'm not going out to offend, but if someone's ego isn't piqued by what you're saying, I don't think you're being yourself. I think you will grate people by being yourself.
Here's the thing, in relation to Anna, touching on how she takes it as a female.
How it takes
your messaging, your content as a female.
Yep.
And it really resonates with her too.
Yep.
Because when I done my research, I'm digging and I'm like, it's very masculine, it's very male orientated.
Yeah.
But I could also see where it will appeal to the alpha female if that exists.
Okay.
How?
Never heard that phrase.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, people are saying that a lot.
Alpha females that.
Hannah's heard it a lot because everyone calls her an alpha female as well.
Oh, okay.
Not because I come up strong, by the way. I'm very feminine.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I suppose the drive that I currently have in running different businesses, and I'm my own boss and run a team, several teams.
Yes.
I suppose people see me as quite independent, and that I'm labelled that. But however, I just see it as being a human being. What your product, your services, I think it's. I know I only noticed it was only for males today. I was like, what? That's for me.
That is exactly what I was going to
say.
say.
Andrew is for me.
Is it for men?
Yes. For me, I mean, it's not. It will help women. Do you need... I predominantly work with men.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm a man, I have only that experience.
Yes.
That feminine, masculine energy, traits, what have you.
Fair.
I can't relate to that feminine. I wouldn't know. So I've worked with women before in the past, and yes, it's been, they've said it's been helpful and it's been great and all that, but I can articulate from a male perspective.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's who I can help more.
Okay.
So what experiences in your life have led you to be able to give the advice that you give to men and create the program, which is the High Value Man program?
Death, cancer, divorce, separation, parent hospitalized, life and death, depression, suicidal iteration.
Life experiences.
Yeah, those sort of things.
Experience.
And I'm just like, okay, I've had a few, tick all them off. And you just, and that, not that there's a chart too, but when you go through that stuff, you're like, okay, that was quite toppy.
It makes you stronger.
That was, I was like, oof, how am I dealing with this?
Yeah, so if we go back.
Sure.
What's a young Andrew like compared to this guy today?
Oh.
Tell us about him.
Who's the young Andrew?
How old? What age?
Let's go back to primary school Andrew, running around the streets.
Okay.
If
mischievous.
Yeah.
Bookworm, homebody.
How was I? So at school, very wallflower. I was, just sort of going along with the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked going home and playing on my bike with the neighbours. My school was about an hour commute on the bus. So a lot of alone time.
Wow. Using your own head.
I was doing meditation before it came popular in the West. I was watching the condensation running down the bus windows. I was like, oh, okay.
Locked in.
I was like, oh, I was actually doing some sort of mindful meditation. Before it became like a thing. I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's helped and contributed. I'm pretty sure it has. But there was a lot of alone time.
Do you think that made you quite reflective on your? Because I think it's someone like you that has gone through so much.
Yeah.
Do you feel that gave you that level of understanding Andrew?
What, knowing yourself?
Knowing yourself when you as a young child, nobody knows.
No, you don't have that. And I think when you're 14, 15 on the school bus contemplating, what do I want out of life or what's important to me, what are my values, like love, wealth, health. Yeah. And I was like, well, okay, I might get that tattooed. 21. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So it's a lot of forethought and it's like a bit of awareness and I think observation. I think I've always felt like this outsider just sort of looking in on people and observing them. That sounds like a
luxury compared to how I grew.
Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was, childhood.
Normal?
Not the best. I would say, what would you class as normal?
Great question.
Yeah. That's a great question.
Great question. What would you?
I don't know, like the nuclear family, 2 parents,
2.4
siblings, and school. Everyone goes through some tough times at school and stuff like that.
So more the general
nothing
concises.
That was too traumatizing, I suppose. According to society's view.
Trauma. Not every stressful situation is traumatizing, and not 100%. Every trauma. But I think there's various degrees of trauma for me.
Correct,
there's the obvious, that you know about, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to do some counselling and
Yeah.
therapy later on.
Yeah.
And then there's the smaller stuff that gets missed, that's consistent, that's more sort of psychological and
Correct.
emotionally damaging. And you're just like, oh, okay, I don't know, I need to go to therapy. And maybe this is just how it sort of is.
So you
then-
kind of accept.
And you're just like, oh, okay, but something doesn't feel
All right.
quite
Quite right.
Yeah.
And I think people miss that and they go along with it and they're just like, oh, okay, this is the norm.
But it's just even having
Because
the
it's not
self-awareness.
obvious.
Yeah.
Because it's not the big trauma stuff.
Yeah.
It's not the
Yeah.
physical or
It's not the
sexual
big
abuse.
trigger,
the social services aren't getting involved.
Yeah.
So it's normal. And
Yes.
you're just like, oh, okay, but that normal is not necessarily healthy.
Correct.
Do you know
That's
what
a
I
good
mean?
shout.
I
I
agree
think
with
that's a
that.
good way of placing it.
Absolutely.
one of my top performing posts is like about the normality, like this fallacy that normal is the thing to be, and people who aren't in that realm of normality, or people are like, oh, you're just weird or normal. I'm like, that's great, because normal's like 7 hours of screen time. Normal is alcohol dependent. Normal is medicated. Normal is emotionally unregulated. I'm like, I'm very happy being weird.
Yeah. And I suppose the idea of normality changes over time as
I
time
suppose.
evolves.
Yeah.
Like the screen time now is not the TV no more. It's on your phone.
Yeah, it's screen time, isn't it? It's
Still
distraction.
screen time, yeah.
It's just like you, for want of a better word, numbing out.
Mm.
And you're just like, I don't want to feel this particular thing. I'm going to distract myself in some form.
Sometimes you don't know either.
It's very subtle.
You move into the habit, right?
Because your mind has this imperceptible ability to go, don't do that painful thing, do this pleasurable thing. And I'll
Yes.
hook you away from that discomfort
The
at
dopamine.
this point and just go, do this pleasurable thing, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Drink, smoke, distract,
Yeah.
pornography, whatever it is. It's just like, I don't want to feel that thing. Do this pleasure thing. And that, for me, is at the crux of our decision-making process. And just being aware of that, when you hit that point and you're noticing that, and you're just like, ooh, I can feel something. And then my mind is going, do the pleasurable thing.
Do the pleasure.
Do the pleasurable thing, come on. And you're like, well, I really should do this painful thing, because in the modern era, the painful thing is the thing that's going to improve the quality of your life.
Did it frustrate you at a period
Yes.
of time in your life?
Yeah,
it must
before
have.
you even finish your question. Yeah.
Because I'm similar in the respect that you move into the modern world, what Anna would class the normal world,
Yeah.
with normal people
Yeah.
doing the crazy thing, but it's
Yeah.
normal to them.
Yeah.
And you're like, you talk, but it's almost like it doesn't go through. How do you? It's because, and then they're giving you something back, but it seems like it's weird.
I think that people are on different levels, frequencies, and whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it.
Mm.
And I'm just like, you will resonate with that person who is on a similar sort of level to you, be it your thoughts, your emotions, whatever that contributes to where you are, sort of consciousness, let's say.
Consciousness.
Let's call it consciousness.
What do you call it?
I'll call it consciousness. I'll call it consciousness.
Yeah.
And I'll just say there are different frequencies on that. And the people that are on your frequency, you will invite in. They will come into your life.
So is it spiritual or science for you? Or do they coexist?
Coexist.
And this is my point as well. They can coexist. I think what most people are blind to is dualism. It's like, it's got to be this or this. I'm like, what about if both can coexist? What about if it's not black or white? What about if it can be both? What about, this doesn't have to be
Makes it
one
grey.
better. I'm just like,
Yes.
imagine living by that, like, morality where you're like, good, bad. I'm like, that's exhausting, isn't it?
Mental to me. I'm just like,
I'm just like, okay, well, that's just a thing.
Yeah.
You apply the meaning.
you apply the meaning. I'm with that all day.
Did you read the book, The Way to a Superior Man?
I did.
Did you feel, because I read the book
Okay.
recently, like
Yeah.
maybe 3 weeks ago. And again, perhaps it's made for males. It is made for males. So the whole book,
Yeah.
I did Audible. Do you feel, I feel like it resonates with you, what some parts of it?
I
with your theory?
I read it a long time ago.
Oh, right, okay.
But I can't remember the
It
chap.
applies to personal life, family life, to
Yeah.
men and women, sex, everything.
Yeah.
Well, he tried to sort of
I think
incorporate loads of
if
things.
I was to offer a synopsis, I would say that his, let's say, definition of masculine would be that you are driven, you are focused, you are maybe in touch with your spiritual side, you are regulated.
That's
as
the
a
word I was
man.
going to say. Regulated, in order to regulate females as well.
To
Assist
allow,
us.
by you being more in your, let's say, masculine,
Yeah.
you would allow a woman to be more in her feminine.
Correct.
So there's this polarity, which
Yeah.
I believe is a huge benefit to a relationship.
Absolutely.
Because what I see,
like
my
that.
observation in modern relationships is this.
Yes.
It's just everyone wants to be
Singularity,
that. It's just like let's both
be
can
one.
coexist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're just merging into this blob, this
When
globule of like, oh, we can all be binary. Or, do you know what I mean? I'm like, no, we need each other.
Yeah.
And when we've got this going on, when you're there,
Yeah.
and you're there,
Yeah.
blokes don't have to do the feminine thing. Women don't have to do the masculine thing. We
Yeah.
can celebrate like that
Yeah.
difference.
Yes.
But it's interesting, that statement that you just made, like the binary thing. But binary is ones and O's.
Yeah.
So you're in fact, you're right. Like, be the one, be the O.
It's just,
And together you are duality.
It's just that
Not singularity.
that's where it works.
Yeah.
I would say that duality of recognizing the strengths and supporting each other rather than going, oh no, that can't coexist.
Then it can't
Correct.
coexist.
And you're just let's merge it to here,
And
to
make it
nothingness,
singularity.
and to just like this detuned experience of a
Yes.
relate. I'm like, oh, that
Yeah.
sounds yucky. And for me, so I moved more over into that range, that, and like, work on yourself, and just you notice, people come into life, and you're just like, oh, this is great.
Was there a moment in your life that you felt that something switched on and it said, I need to help others?
There was a moment that switched on when I thought I need to help myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I think that's what sort of started this. I was, how would I put it?
I was going to say, what age was that?
Great question.
This was probably 2021.
So that's recent.
I like the way you answered that.
Yeah. I'm 44. No shame. No, it's a blessing to, make it this many times around
I
the
agree.
sun.
So when you
Do you
were
know what I
40.
mean? Yeah.
I
So
agree.
when I was at that point,
Good
40,
numbers.
39, pretty bad place. You've gone along with a narrative, an expectation.
Yeah.
Suppressed a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
shoved that
because
down.
that would have been on the back of the COVID year as well.
Yeah.
So you're sitting down with yourself.
lot of realizations, and you're just like, oh, I'm in this marriage. I'm in this job, which is sucking my soul.
Is this the partner that you're not? Are you with that partner still?
No, I
So
got
that-
divorced.
So that's a divorce partner.
So you're just like, oh, this is something's not right here. Parenting was pretty poor. I was what I've been modelled. I was using that. I was like, this feels terrible. I'm not dad here. I'm provider.
Yeah. So you're kind of on the rat race, supplying for everyone.
You're just thinking, oh, okay, this is the common narrative. This is what I've been shown. This is my blueprinting of parenting.
Yeah.
And it felt bad the way I was sort of parenting. So I was like, oh, okay, this feels pretty awful. I am doing all this stuff here. What I think I should be doing is here. There was this cognitive dissonance between the two. I was just like, this is a painful gap, mental agitation between wanting to be this person and being this person. I was like, this is pretty painful experience, actually, with work, with relationships, with parenting, the big three. I was like, oh, this is bad. And then getting to a place where it sort of got so bad, knowing and just staying there yeah, and you're just like, oh, I want a way out. And you're just thinking about you go to the worst place, and you just think, oh, okay,
I could go there.
I could
But
just do that. And those thoughts sort of pop in.
And I know what it comes with.
Yeah. And you, thankfully, had the education and the knowledge of knowing that you are, well, I suppose having, in my previous job with the fire service, been to a lot of suicide, sort of, not attempts, but
jobs, basically.
Jobs where you're
crisis
scooping people up off the bottom of the car park, or you are cutting people down from trees,
or you are
going under a train because someone's jumped under there. You know, so there's a few of these sort of, you don't see it a lot. It's usually like people think it's like house fires, but there's a lot of where you're going to these suicides, and you're just like, I wonder what it was. The few times where I've been to these suicide attempts and spoke to the people when you're giving them first aid, they always have that, it's like opinion or a belief that the world would be better off without them. Yeah. And that came to the forefront. So when you speak to them, I was like, that's a common theme with these people.
I've had two of them in my time. It's the same thing, yeah.
And you're just like, oh, wow, you honestly believe that's it. But for me, it's knowing that your mind is in that, you know, that pleasure pain thing. Just like, stop this pain and like away from that pain. Yeah. So, you know, your mind's just going to come up with some solutions. Yeah. They're not the best solutions, but they are solutions.
Small things, right?
It's just like a raw,
trying to
just here you go, this will make the pain go away.
Because most of them it's the noise.
Like that.
They want to turn off the noise. There's a lot of noise.
When you're in emotion, for me, emotion is energy, emotional distress. So you're just like, there's, with that emotional energy comes a lot of thoughts and let's say cognitive activity. Yeah, it's just like neurons firing, they're going. There's a lot of activity there, and it's a lot of noise there.
Yeah, it's noise.
And blokes don't want to be alone with that. If they've got that thing, whatever it is, going off, there's some form of repressed emotion or something going on there. That's going to be a terrible place in your head. And the solution, the easy solution, your mind will come up with lots, but one of them's just like, just do this, just take this, just tie yourself up there, and you just like, oh, bloody hell.
Looks all right.
Can I swear?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm like, fuck, I've actually just thought about stringing myself up here. Yeah. And that thought that popped into my head was my son. And I was like, oh, this is not, actually he doesn't even. So it was like a counter argument to what all these other blokes that had told me the world would be a black. And I'm like, actually, he needs me.
So it was hope.
So it was like, it was going low enough. Do you know what I mean? Like hitting bottom.
You saw it.
And you just, it's just like, oh, okay, that's my mind telling me to do this easy thing to stop the pain.
So it's just one thing.
It was just one thing. And that just saved me.
But then remind you of what you're responsible for as well, right? In terms of when you're there at that point.
It was him. That just, that would stop me. I was just like, oh, okay. I need to be him growing up without a dad. I was like, no.
You're like, if no one else needs me, my son still needs me.
That was it. And I was like, okay. You read any Dante? Like, have you read? Okay. So he's got this model of hell, and it's like all these levels, and it gets worse and worse, and the intensity gets.
It's a funnel.
It's funneled down to the bottom, and he's got these levels. I think it's 7 or 8 levels of hell, and it gets more painful as you go down. You go to. I think I went to the level below. I went to the basement that he didn't talk about, and you're just like, that's where most guys.
That's
like,
where you were.
You were, and there's no way out but up from there, unless you check out. And I think I think Carl Jung said it. Most people don't find God because they don't look low enough. Wow. And you're just like, oh, okay, I understand that now. I understand. So from getting to that point, and it was just like really emotional, and you just, okay, let's go the other way.
So now you believe in God? Or is it a different concept?
For me, it's more, I don't subscribe to a religion.
Yeah,
I'd say spiritual, like universe, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's something there. As to a deity or religion, I can't get on board with that.
What was the light on that tunnel, on that funnel that you were going through? Because I'm speaking to people
on the way down.
On the way down, no, when you were low.
Well, it's getting darker.
When it was dark, and you were like, you start to have those thoughts, and which I can resonate as well. Sometimes you go through moments in your life that you feel it will be easier if I wasn't here.
Yeah.
But what was the light? What was the flickering that made you think, okay, I need to get out of this situation, or I need to
what did your son actually do?
I need to do something to get out.
I just thought of him. That was it. It was that single thought.
So it was the
solution.
That was the solution for me. I was like, oh, okay, now I have purpose.
It is purpose, isn't it? I think
it was purpose.
Yeah.
Because most people, if you don't have that and you're just living a life of distraction and disappointment or whatever it is, I say disappointment, that's not the right word, but if you are without that purpose, if you have maybe lost your way a little bit, and if you're just existing, you haven't got anything to put your energy into, you're misaligned with that
life is just happening right in front of you.
You're going along, you sort of you're off course. It's like a faulty autopilot. You're just sort of you're going off.
Skiing off piste.
You go off like that, and you just sort of have to grab you have to convert to manual. You have to go, I need to be conscious. I need to be intentional with what I'm doing.
When you're off piste, sorry B.
Go on.
When you're off piste, you've got to be intentional. But if you don't have the skills, then you keep going, don't you?
I don't think you realise you're off piste.
Mm.
I think you go off piste and then you go down a crevasse or you hit a tree.
Which goes, like you said, it's the funnel, right?
It's like you funnel down. It's just like, oh, okay, this is wildly uncomfortable and horrible, and this is a lot of pain that I'm waking up with on a regular basis, like the emotional sort of thing, and then the thoughts start and you're just like terrified of this next spiral or episode. And I think that's what a lot of guys struggle with. With that, pushing that down, I'm just like, you got to feel your way out of that darkness.
It's funny because I've met a lot of men that have gotten to a certain point of their life where their kids no longer need their support as much, financially or whatever it may be.
Okay.
And I've seen that directly correlate with their lack of motivation to do more, because their core focus at the time was providing. And when they've lost that focus, don't get me wrong, I'm sure I'm not a parent, right? So I'm sure as parents, you always feel responsible for your kids. But when that responsibility dwindles, I feel like that I've seen people that lose their motivation, lose their drive.
That's true.
For example, I don't want to throw my dad under the bus here, but my dad, since having another child, has had a new lease of life in terms of is far more driven to do far more.
Yeah.
Whereas there's probably a limbo period where I was growing up at uni and kind of looking after myself, self-sufficient.
Yeah.
He'd also just gone through a divorce.
Okay.
And then it's at that point where it's quite difficult to self-motivate until you have that driver again. Have you noticed that? I
depict motivation as something that you have to build. I don't see it as like, people talk about motivation, but for me, self-motivation, you need certain things. You need autonomy, you need relatedness, and you need competency. If you've got that, you will be motivated in a particular area. Until you have that, you have probably got the January 1st excitement, change. Do you know what I mean? It's like a way. It's more like an emotional,
spike,
spike.
It's a spike,
a wave.
Yeah,
I call it.
Yeah.
And it's just that's what you've got. January
New Year's
1st.
resolution, right?
Yeah. That's what you've got.
30 days.
Just like, change, and I'm just like, that's emotionalism.
Yeah,
you're getting caught up. You're not motivated. Motivated takes time because you autonomy, relatedness, and competency. They take time to build. But when you find that thing where you have got those three elements, this is self-determination, but that's when you're motivated and you continue on. It's like a snowball effect.
I think that's part of the key to your messaging that also a lot of females then pick up on. We was talking about it from a masculine point of view.
Yeah.
It's messaging like that they probably pick up on as well, because that appeals to anyone.
Okay.
That's a human thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a human thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it as a human thing, but yeah.
Because it's the recipe, like you said, for motivation.
You've got to build it. And I think what stops a lot of people is mixed messages, misunderstanding of emotion. Let's take envy, for example. A lot of people say the world runs on greed. I'm like, I think it runs on envy.
Yeah, facts.
From way back when someone had some food, you didn't, you're like, I want that.
I need it.
I need that.
That.
Scarcity.
Yeah.
And in the modern world, there is no scarcity. There's abundance of everything, but the envy hasn't changed. That part of our brain is still back in the cave. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? This part's in finishing school, but the other part is still back in the jungle, like, hunting and foraging, and going, oh, envy, he's got that. And I'm like, if you could interpret envy better, and instead of going, I think it's an awareness thing. If you feel envious and you are projecting that onto someone because they've made you feel a certain way, that's not awareness. That's a lack of emotional intellect. But if you can look at that envy and go, oh, what is that telling me about that person? If I'm envious of that person, maybe they're showing me that that's something that I want. But
you've got to identify envy when it's happening, right?
You've got to be attuned to it. This is the problem. Yeah. Most people aren't. They miss it.
It's about knowing self.
Attune. How do you become so attuned with yourself? Because I was looking at envy couldn't be a better word utilized here, because sometimes I look at something that someone has and I want to have that, but I use a way to motivate me, and then I think that's competitiveness. But envy, is it because envy can be quite negative? It's because instead of working towards what they have, for instance, they've got an amazing body, or they managed to achieve great things in terms of becoming a jiu-jitsu black belt. I feel like, is it envy? You're looking at them saying, I want to have that black belt and I want to work towards it? Or is it, I want to go and take that person down? How do you differentiate? I think that's the question.
It's the response to it.
Okay.
It's the response to that
But
envy.
It's toxic.
How am I going to interpret it? How am I going to miss it and be completely unaware of it? How am I going to project it? How am I going to... that feeling? What does it want me to do? For most people, it's that is there, but how do I interpret it? Do I interpret it as they're doing something that's made me feel a certain way, and then I'm going to project and attack that person back for making me feel hurt or envious? Or do I recognize it as envy and go, oh, that might be pointing me to recognize that they have something that I want? Can I talk to that person? Can I get some information from them as to how they've attained that thing?
Got a question though.
Great.
Yeah, that is great. It's beautiful, actually. But what a question. You see, like, this is a curveball question.
Shoot.
It's a safe one, but it's a curveball.
All right.
The Andrew Tates of the world.
Okay.
That preach masculinity in the way that they do.
Okay.
Or do they? Like the brothers, the Tate brothers.
Okay.
How does that compare, really, to what you're teaching? Because
that's a great question.
They are directing it at a specific audience too. But would you classify that as noise or just another way?
Because they label it the same way that you do as well. And some people, talking to my colleagues today, and they said that can be quite toxic. Masculine man can actually trickle down to younger people and make them feel pressured.
I think it's an interpretation of masculinity.
I was about to say that, because I think the definition of masculinity has changed over time, because you speak about repression in terms of when you said that a lot of men repress feelings and feel like they get it all balled up.
Yeah.
But back when my granddad's era,
Yeah.
that is part of being masculine. Repression is part of masculinity because you don't show emotion in the same way.
I think there's repression, I think there's expression, and the two have very different outcomes. I think if you can express your emotion, if you can process it rather than repress it, I think you're going to be a much healthier masculine person. You're going to have to, you know how to regulate yourself. And that's what it comes down to, that self-control. That's all discipline is. That's all self-control. It's like, can I sit with this uncomfortable feeling and do this thing?
And that's just the question you need to ask yourself, really.
That is something you got to work on. If you are going, oh, I'm not going to do this because it's too painful or it's too boring or it's this, that, and the other, I'm like, you have no self-control because probably you don't want to sit with that feeling.
Yeah.
It's not the thing, it's the feeling that people are avoiding.
So the feeling is everything.
So
It's just that, oh, I don't want to, why don't you want to do that? Oh, because, yeah, you know, it's like boring. And that's like an accepted term these days. I'm not doing it because it's boring.
Like it's mental.
I'm like, boring is an emotion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you can sit with that emotion, be regulated enough to sit with boredom and do that thing to get to what you want to achieve, you'll do it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is boring. Oh, okay, responding to all these people is boring. You know, to start off with. Or doing this, making these spreadsheets or doing my accounts. Or
there's always a boring task.
There's always a boring thing, but I'm just like, watch me do this boring thing.
But it's the system as well, isn't it? Because you've applied the system to knowing what the goal may be at the end of it. So the boring task.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what, you know, I never think, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is my experience and this is coming along. And all I'm doing is just experiencing this stuff, learning from this stuff, and just want awareness to look at these mistakes that I've made in the past and gain lesson from that. And it's usually a painful lesson that most people don't want to experience, so they keep on making the same mistakes and it's the same patterns that have been conditioned into them.
So in this world of social influence, and where influence have so much pull on an young individual's mentality and mindset, do you now feel that you have some sort of responsibility as well with the content you post? As in, you mentioned the 10% that are going to disagree, and the 10% that I love your content. You got the 80% grey area.
Yep.
But then
I don't know if that's an exact stat.
No, of course. no. But I'm just saying, as a rough number.
I've already done the research on that. But
with that, as your following's grown, because you mentioned to me, let's call it backstage, that your following grew exponentially in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Did that change the way you see the content you put out because you now feel more responsible?
No. It's been the same.
Been exactly the same.
I will look back 2 or 3 years and I'll go, well, okay, the same ideas back. That was following the same sort of ideology. It's maybe a bit more refined and I've become a bit more aware and I've had a few more experiences to recall, and that understanding has been cemented, and I've augmented the knowledge, and I don't know if to call it. I think for me, wisdom is just you go through the experience and you learn the lesson from it.
Yeah, agreed.
That's wisdom.
Yeah.
So my understanding of things and these experiences, and just understanding the emotional side of things a lot more. We spoke about that, and we touched on the envy, but it's like anger. It's like anger's another one. Like if you're experiencing that, that's just that's a helpful thing. It's not like, again, you could project and like, oh, you made me feel angry, now I'm going to attack you, hurt you back. Or like there's usually something behind the anger is what I've come to learn. It's like there's a hurt or there's a vulnerability.
Yeah, vulnerability is the word. Yeah.
And rather than feel that, you'll go, actually, anger is protecting me. I'll use this anger. It's how you use it. So like attacking that person back, or do I take this action, or can I regulate that and just understand that it's my feelings, it's my hurt, it's my vulnerability that are making me feel this way. And anger's just showing you that something's not right.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not that person doing something to you. It's just like, oh, something is
it's triggered.
Feeling wrong here.
Something's feeling wrong.
It's pushing you to act because something is not right here, and you need to change something. And so it's understanding that, like the envy, it's just I find it's a misunderstanding. And with like you talked about was it your grandfather back in the day, and you were saying like that, you know, you pushed that all down, suppressed it. I'm like, well, probably gonna haunt you a little bit over the course of time, and that's going to be repressed, and that part of you is gonna bubble up.
But if that was their normality back then,
that was the
narrative.
You push that down. You're told no,
get on with it.
You get on with things, isn't it? Just get on with it.
It's get on with it, and that's fine. You do get on with it, but you've also got to process in the same time. It's not just like pushing that down, repressing it down. It's just like you get on with it, but allow yourself to feel that it's like the human experience.
They may have had that. They may have had the opportunity to feel whilst repressing. Whereas today, that same notion might not exist. You might not have the space to feel.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's a bit. It's like a self thing. Most guys do it because they feel it won't be accepted, or they were told not to experience that, or they were told in childhood, you know, you're not angry, you're not mad, you push that down, you're not allowed to it. So that's down there. You going down and investigating that. I think Jung called it like the shadow side. The
shadow work, yeah.
Yeah, so you go into that and you're just like, let's have a look at all this stuff that I've repressed. Emotions, traits, gifts.
It's a lot though. Most people don't like to go there.
Oh,
it's a dark place.
I think anyone wants to go there.
You have to go through the shadow to know what the light looks like.
If you touch into that.
An emotional audit, like of... I don't know, I'm just saying that, not hypothetically speaking, did you sit down and were okay, I need to deal with these issues, let me tackle them? Or was it a case of, no, I just naturally became enlightened by my life experience?
It comes to you. I think it will hit you. Okay. The analogy I have is like, imagine you've got all these bags, this baggage in the closet, and all these bags of stuff, memory, whatever, repressed stuff, and occasionally one will fall out, and the common approach is, I'm gonna chuck this straight back in
Stuff
there with drink, smoke, whatever, sex, something to get this away, chuck it back in there, hold the door shut, and you're like that. Most blokes are like that. They're just like stay in there. It's just like so exhausting and emotionally draining. And you're just like, just let that come out, fall out. When it does, unzip it, and this hold all, this, whatever it is, just see what's in there. Don't try and change the content. Don't try and pretend it's not there. Just open it up and just go, open the door to it and say, okay, I'm going to have a look at this. Whatever may come up. Whatever you're going to feel, just allow that to be. Let it be there. And you then process that emotion, you tap into that engram, whatever it is back there, and you processing the emotive charge from that thing, and then you throw that bag aside, and then that load in the cupboard becomes less and less and less, and you're just like, I don't have to expend all this energy coming, like sort of holding this shut. I can actually just walk away and go over here and enjoy my life. And if one falls out, I'll just unzip it, go through the process. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
This unpacking that you've done.
Of course it does.
Okay.
The unpacking you've done through therapy, or have you done through self-reflection, or by reading books? You mentioned
everything.
Anger. And Brené Brown mentions that on her books. I read a lot of books, so Brené Brown mentions the essence of why we triggered by and how we deal with when we feel vulnerable, we deal with situations and sort of feelings that sort of we tend to express and then display to our friends, to family, and how we react. And this is how. Did you read books or did you go through therapy, or was it a mixture for everything?
Everything.
Amazing. Apart
from doing the whole ayahuasca retreat thing, I haven't done that. I've just found, for me, I've talked to a lot of people that have done that. I mean, my friend that I had lunch with, he's doing another one. But for me, it's just like if that's the conduit to access that bag and unpack it, great.
And so be it. Yeah.
So be it. That's your MO.
Yeah.
Not MO. That's your method of processing. Great. Do that. But if you want to do it another way, as long as you are allowing yourself to just process it, because ultimately there's probably a lot of bags and then there's like a pile of stuff, and you allowing yourself just like that baggage goes down. It's like the reclaim at Gatwick Airport. Eventually it will that pile will go down, and you'll get a happier person.
One thing at a time, isn't it?
So do you believe there has to be a conscious decision to do that as an individual?
Yeah.
100%.
You can't not, because most blokes are just like, oh, okay. They might not be aware of it, but there's some inkling and there's some discontentment or feeling there that they're sort of repressing a lot of stuff, and they're in this relationship that doesn't feel right. They're in this job that they hate. They're their parenting style it doesn't sit well with them, or they know there's something there, and they're just like, oh
yeah.
And digging into that is uncomfortable.
Yeah, I tend to find with a lot of my peers as well, they know, but they can feel it. It's there, but it's easy, like you said, just to ignore and keep it moving and shut the door.
I feel like you have to be courageous to do stuff like that, because it's changing your life completely, of what you're used to, the norm, to who you are at this point, whoever you have become because of that relationship and that having your children, how you deal with your parents or do things like that.
I think courage is a good word. I think, people talk about confidence, but for me, confidence is when you have evidence. Simple as. It's just like, you're not going to be confident on your first post or your first podcast. You haven't got any evidence to support that your efficiency, that you have competency in that. There is no evidence. You have to be courageous to start and just go, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. Take a leap of faith. This may work out, this may not. And I'm just going to keep going. And then you keep going, and then you build the confidence because you have the evidence to say, oh, actually, people are listening. Oh, actually, I know how to do this.
So would you say that most of the lessons you've learned over time is from your own life experience, or is it from people giving advice as well that have helped you through that? Because from my own personal experience, I've had a lot of people that may look upon my life and say, you should do this, you should do that, or avoid this, avoid that. And I've noticed from my own personal experience that I won't do it until I learn from my own mistakes or my own experiences, because I find that far more impactful than someone saying, this is how it should be done, right? But obviously a big part of what you do is life coaching in a sense, and helping people get through that by giving your perspective and advice. Do you find that a lot of people don't learn until they've experienced certain things for themselves?
First of all, for me, I never really saw it as giving advice, like what I do. I'm just like, I'm offering a perspective, an ideology. I'm like, this is my experience of this. This is my understanding of this. You got to make your own decisions. I'm not advising you to make a decision. The decision lies with you. I'm not a rescue boat. I'm just like a lighthouse, shining a light on this. I'm going, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? What have you considered this? I'm just asking questions and challenging. I'm not going, you need to do this. And to your friends, the shoulders, that for me is a distortion. That is when someone's saying you should do this, that's your rules and behavior applied to someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you should do this because that's my way of doing it. I'm like, that's should. That's one of the most popular cognitive distortions that I know.
Lack of clarity, isn't it?
It's just like, it is from lack of self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
It's just like, oh, that's my way of doing things. Their way can coexist, and they can be their own person.
Coexist again.
And that's their behavior. This is mine. And I've got to accept that this is how I operate. These are my rules of behavior, and these are my own, not theirs. So when you're saying should, what you're actually saying is do it my way.
So
So don't be friends with them.
Get rid
Sorry
of
to those people, but
No, not at all. So
Get rid of them, B.
Yeah, get rid of him. Get rid. All right, Mike, off you go. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
or just state a boundary and just say, when
Absolutely.
you're saying should, what you're how I decode that is you're telling me what to do, and because from your perspective, and you're just you're just saying should.
It's good to say it's education as well. They might need the education.
It's
They
just
may not know.
ignorance. That's
is,
all
yeah.
it is. It's not the individual. I think
It is.
people get so wound up, and I see it, and I'm just like, it's just ignorance. It's not that individual. They just don't
They
know
just
any
don't know.
better.
Yeah, they just don't know.
That's how they've been conditioned. That's how they are. That's how their beliefs, and that's how they're, operating in the world.
Where does the conditioning come from?
There's only one place, isn't there?
I
Your
don't know.
upbringing, your
Upbringing,
experiences,
upbringing.
your upbringing, your caregivers.
The caregivers.
That blueprinting.
Yeah.
The school system.
To an extent, like authority figures.
Authority
if
figures,
you're a kid, you're just going to be like, oh, okay, my parents, authority. I need them for survival.
that's
What they're
right.
showing me. Teachers, another authority figure. Family members, they're another authority. So these authority figures are just teaching you from a very young age. They're just sort of installing these programs into you. So you think of yourself as a child, and you're just like this blank
canvas,
hardware, this tower, PC tower, and they're just going, here you go, here's some programs in here, and they're just
Creating
sort of loading them up. And because you haven't got, I suppose you're quite naive as a child, you haven't got any firewall, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'll upset this, I'll have some of these cookies, I'll have some of that.
Keep pushing
you're
those
just
buttons.
like, okay, all right, this must be true. And you don't realize that those people may have some distortions of their own. They may not be, sort of as innocent, or they may be, wrong in what they're saying, or they might not recognize that what they're doing, their parenting style, their teaching, or whatever is not working. But it's just because they're running that program. That's what they were taught. And you've got to, as a child, you just like take a lot of that board. And you just go, oh, okay, well, this is how it's supposed to be, and this is what I was shown. This is how I handle conflict in a relationship, and this is what I'm looking for in a partner, and this is how I handle this, because this is what I'm seeing. It's monkey see, monkey do, not monkey be told, monkey do. Your eyes are on that way out, and you are seeing. So that, I think that was like a laboratory experiment where they saw these like poor rhesus monkeys, always the rhesus monkey. And it's just like, when they were conducting these experiments, when there was like no morality in any of these sort of experiments, and they just noted these scientists just noticed, they weren't even testing at the time, they just noticed this monkey reenacting their behavior. And they were just like, did he just do that? And they were just like this, and that's it. I think they're called mirror neurons, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm seeing this. This is what I'm going to do. So as a parent, you can tell your child till you're blue in the face to do something, but unless you demonstrate and model that to them, they're not going to do it. So you have to be the example.
You are the example, I suppose.
That's it. You're that. You're that to them. You are the example.
So would you say with the high value man program that you run, would you say that that's part of this in terms of you setting an example for other individuals to follow, or is it individualistic basis? Because I don't know too much about the program. Is it a video based program? Is it a personal based program where you essentially closer to therapy?
I was going to ask that. It feels like therapy.
So
because if it's not because if you're not giving advice, as you said, and it's not saying you should do this to be a high value man, does that mean it's more about helping individuals on a personal basis?
So I work with guys like on a one-to-one basis. There is like a community and a group, and I think there's a lot of value to other sort of guys contributing, sharing, and experience, what have you. But ultimately, it is just helping them with maybe some of this repression stuff, and it's inviting them to just go, actually, well, you want to be better in this domain of your life, or whatever it may be, these challenges, and just going, have you had a look at this? That shadow stuff that we talked about. Like, what are you repressing? What do you think is not safe, or is going to not be accepted to share about yourself? What is this dissonance between the public persona and the person you are private. This person that sort of
Yeah.
you are hampering down, that you think, oh no, I should be this, and this person is in conflict with this, forward facing public person that everyone sees, and this is the person that I want to show. But really there's some stuff down here that's, repressed. It could be emotion, it could be
anything,
gifts. It could be like you what you really want to do. Those desires might have shoved down there because you don't think they're acceptable. You were told they were not acceptable.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, this stuff's going to simmer down there and it's going to bubble up on occasion.
Slow cook.
And it's just like, I think it's a Freudian slip. It comes up. It's just like, and it comes out and you're just like, oh, okay, that might be worth looking at.
Yeah.
How about we I call it collapsing. It's like you've got the conscious and the subconscious. Yeah. I'm just like, this is steering you. This is your autopilot. This, that shadow stuff.
Yeah.
And the subconscious.
Subconscious, yeah.
That's your autopilot. You don't even realize you've switched to it. You're just doing that. You're going along for the ride from these patterns that are in there and this repression. I'm like, that's where you're going. This is leading the show.
Yeah.
And this small stuff is like, oh, okay, that's not the case. That's
an idea.
That's an idea.
That's an idea.
It's a nicety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, with the younger generation now, I'd say that it's a lot more accepting and a lot more expressive than it is repressive.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But then have you had
In
younger...
what way do you mean expressive?
I think there's more room for creative expression and being able to express your emotions or your sexuality far more freely than you ever could before.
Okay.
Or the idea.
Or the idea of that.
Because they are very expressive, I suppose you're trying to... it appears visually, looking at it from the surface, from the outside, that there's a large amount of younger people that are more expressive.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, correct.
We don't know, innit? It just appears that way.
Okay.
So would you say, have you experienced that a lot of the people that you're kind of coaching or as in people in your course are part of a certain generation and less people at the, I don't know, let's call it sub 2025s?
What generation is that? Z? Gen Z?
I don't know the letters, unfortunately.
Oh no, I wouldn't have a clue about that.
No, so but let's just say sub 25. Are there far less people sub 25 than post 25 that are coming?
Yes.
Because as I said, I think as in my granddad's generation and even my dad's generation, I feel that there's far more pressures to have a front, essentially, to feel like you are the man, and that's it.
Keeping up appearances, you think?
So, yes, in answer to your question, it's me of like 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. That's the people that are coming through. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I didn't have a clue. I had a clue, I had some inkling, but I had yet to go through all these experiences. And then that's the person that I'm not targeting, but I'm finding coming through who my content resonates with.
As you said, people come to you rather than you go to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They hear your message and they're okay.
It's fine. When you get big enough following. I wouldn't call it famous, but it's just like a lot of people hear your message and you're just like, oh wow, okay. They give you some stats and it's like, oh okay, so 5+ million people are seeing your stuff, and you're just like, it doesn't. That would have been like, that's nice. Do you know? It's nice. But those are the people that are coming through.
Okay, well, just to wrap this up then, Andrew. Thank you. That was, it's challenging. It was deep, and there's areas in there that you can take away and just go, I might need to do a bit more to bring up my own masculinity.
Good.
Like
maybe you need to call Andrew as well.
It was nice. Go for it, Gun.
If there's a last message that you'd like to give to our listeners to help them get through whatever they're going through in life,
yes,
what would be that one message for them?
Call me.
I would say control is one of the biggest things that I look at with people. It's just like accepting what is within your control and what is outside of your control. If you can dial it down, you are in control of your attitude, your thoughts, your behaviors. It's a very small thing. And if you can put all your energy into that, rather than getting distracted and focusing on these events or getting caught up in this, that, and the other, which is completely outside of your control, you know, the news or this or what that person's doing or their behaviors. And I'm just like, accept that is outside of your control and you can do nothing about that, because that's what's stressing you out. You trying to control the uncontrollable. And if you dial that back down, it's very empowering to just go, oh, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm not in control of the outcome. You know, every time I fight, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to win or lose. I don't know. All I can control is where I put my hand. How hard I sweep this guy. Can I get my hand here? I'm just like, I'm in control of me, my breathing, my emotion, whatever it is in that moment, this conversation, I'm in control of myself. Everything outside of that, I let go of. I'm just like, I cannot affect the outcome. I cannot affect that person. I'm not in control of their behaviors. My emotions are my responsibility. Their emotions are their responsibility. Their behavior is their responsibility. My behavior is my responsibility. It's just like looking at those two things, being able to delineate between the two and just go, actually, I'm not in control of very much at all. Just accepting that. It's very empowering.
Brilliant. Thank you. And if anyone wants to find you on socials or website, can you give them your tags and everything?
Yeah, so it should be just Andrew Shaw BSc for everything, like across all platforms. So if you search for that, hopefully something will come up. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for coming along.
You're welcome.
And guys, if you liked that episode, please like, share and subscribe so we can keep making this content for you guys, because we're loving it and I hope you're loving it too.